To point out a few things that the head of state has mentioned, and especially on the economy, is that last year the economy grew by 5.6%, projecting more this year. 4 months of import cover to cover for international shocks as well. The interest rates are also going down. When it comes to agriculture, as mentioned, matters to do with fertilizer to actualize agricultural output, and with the rains, the short rains here with us. He says that we are already 47 million bags of maize in government silos, and not to mention beans and other grains as well. In education, he is committed to oversee the many changes that are there, and also to overturn the challenges that are facing the education sector, from the KBC curriculum to also the university Dawn's strike. On health, there's a good promise that all October claims will be paid in full by SHA by next week. When it comes to affordable housing, talked about in 2 years, 4,888 units are already complete. And also the cancellation of Adani Transport and Energy Solutions is, I think, one of the positive things, key positive things that he has mentioned, and actually had a standing ovation in regards to that. But many Kenyans would argue this should have come a little bit earlier. But allow me to rope in my panel of experts, beginning with Daisy Odhiambo on my immediate left, and also we have Sammy Meli, who have been with us since morning. Many thanks, and indeed I welcome you again to this a few minutes or to maybe look at what has happened. Coming from an economy part of it, what are some of your key highlights in the president's speech?
First, we still have to give a special mention on the Adani cancellation deal.
Yes.
But most importantly, from my point of view, I was excited to hear that the foreign exchange reserves have increased. Mm-hmm. My only concern is, like what we've been saying, what happens on the ground? Are we really able to fill this in? As much as we are saying we're able to cushion our imports for the next four months or so. Mm-hmm. If you talk to an importer right now, they'll tell you they're still not able to afford these products. However, on paper, it says that we have enough foreign exchange reserves that are able to cushion our imports. So that looks good, and I am yet to see when we're going to fill it ourselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm also quite pleased with the issue on the sugar factories, and that their production has increased.
Yes.
However, as I mentioned earlier, we highly depend on the importation of sugar for production. So the sugar issue is, in as much as our local production has increased, unfortunately, I don't think that it can match up to the demand for production, because a lot of industries depend on the sugar that is imported. Mm. Yeah, so those were some key highlights that I could say touched me directly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Meli, looking at, of course, a number of things that the heads of state have mentioned, but looking at the education sector, which has been facing a number of challenges in the last couple of, since it began on 1st of October, but the head of state has given assurances in regards to where we are, in as much as we have so much in terms of challenges, but in terms of claims and actually trying to make the scheme work better.
Yes, remember, this government took over where there was uncertainty where the grade 6s would go, and they were able to harness that very fast and make sure that the GSS are domiciled in the primary school. And now the president has even confirmed that the GSS will be domiciled, still the grade 9 will still be in primary schools. This ensures that there is a continuation of what was started, and once the children are done with the JSS section, they are able to transit to the secondary schools or senior secondary school. Looking at also, he said when they came in, there were a shortage of a certain 110,000 teachers. In his first year, he was able to employ 56,000 teachers, and he has even promised that he's going to recruit other 20,000 this coming January. And I saw that advert done by TSC, so I am sure that even the interns are going to be confirmed. He also talked about the 43 universities that were bankrupt, and he's saying they are back on their feet, and he especially mentioned his alma mater, Nairobi University, as an example. He also mentioned Moi University, where most of our law graduates come from Moi University in Eldoret. And he said that is purely managerial issues. It has very little to do with how the government is running it. So I'm sure that the president still has a lot of promises he's giving us, especially on the education sector. He even talked about the Open University of Kenya. Actually, I visited it. It is domiciled at Konza Technopolis, Konza City. And this is an open university, open learning university. You can even enroll Ben Troy and learn online. And I think this is opening up. He even mentioned the TVETs and the university funding model. We know it has faced some challenges, yes, but he is promising that these challenges are going to be dealt with. Yes. And
coming to you, Daisy, I'm looking at the economy as well. He has mentioned that he will make sure that court cases, the judiciary has actually urged court cases to be expedited, and his fight against corruption, does it add to the confidence of investors that he is committed to work through corruption and through the cases that are pending in court? Because some of the issues that have come up in terms of investors is that if they have a court case, they know it's going to take a long time. So those investors, more or less, don't like somewhere that they will feel that ease of doing business is on the other side.
That's true. So it is important to note that the issue of corruption here is a cultural issue. So what we say in business is culture eats strategy for breakfast. So his strategy on saying that the judiciary is going to expedite these cases and it's going to be a different thing. This is not about to change next week. So we know for sure also there are people who walk around with judgments that nothing has been done. So for us to say that the judiciary has been empowered to work on these cases and it's going to expedite the rate at which they deliver judgment, that's a good thing to say. However, is it going to be done? What does it take then to do this? Because making the proclamation is important. However, what are we looking at in terms of implementing it, so that when we have a new investor and they want to come into the country, they do not come in thinking, by the way, in this country the culture is like this and nothing is going to change. So the bigger issue is a cultural issue. So all these systems have to be overhauled if this is to work, if this proclamation is to work.
And I think something also, Daisy, we also acknowledge is that with all fairness, all of us here, and I believe all Kenyans acknowledge that GBV cases have been on the rise, and the government showing its commitment that we are going to be looking into this and also urging Kenyans to ensure that we also have, just like my good friend Melly talked about, our moral fabric as well. Yeah,
so the issue on gender-based violence, if you look at research and continued research has shown that gender-based violence is usually a result of economic frustration. So we do not, there's not money in the pocket. So I mean, if we're looking at your typical household, there's husband and wife. The husband has his own frustration because there's no money, he's been laid off. The first person who's going to take this out is going to be his immediate family. So unfortunately, the issue on gender-based violence is an economic issue, I would say. And I feel like we need to really address the economic challenges that we are facing. Most importantly is the food issue. So yes, we have plans on food security and we have all these big irrigation schemes and all that. However, it trickles down to the person who, at the end of the day, are they going home? Do they have a meal? So that is where the gender-based violence then starts to spring up. Of course, there's the issue on crime, but really, it's an economic issue.
Melly, I also like you to mention something in regards to that, because this is an issue that is affecting all Kenyans as well.
Yes, the issue of femicide, he put it as he put it himself. He said that women are not second-class citizens. They deserve to be heard. They deserve to express themselves the way they want. At the same time, we need to treat them as humans, fellow humans. This femicide is not a thing that should be ignored by the government, because they are on the rise. Every week you hear 2-3 women have been killed. This has been found there and the other one. But as Daisy well put it, an economically stable family is a happy family. You have seen the rich walking together, driving together to church, but you expect that young man, he has found himself accidentally impregnated a lady. There are now the demands for upkeep for the child. The guy doesn't get a job or doesn't get an income. This frustration moves on, and perhaps they think of an easy way to end all this is to finish the lady, which is not right, because at the end of the day, you are jumping from a frying pan into the fire. So if we were to make sure that this country is economically stable, all these femicide issues, job creation will be there, and therefore you hear even homicide reduce. You heard the other day somebody jumped from a certain building in town because of frustration. So when the economy becomes so tough on the citizens, they tend to get a way to vent it out. And unfortunately, our women are always carrying the brunt. If you look at the drunkard, the drunk young men, for example, as you saw the fight against drug and substance abuse, at the end of the day, whoever receives that gentleman at home is a lady. And if the lady also doesn't know how to handle this guy, they end up committing a crime at the end of the day. So it is all about frustrations. And if this is elevated, we want to feel, when they say the economy, the inflation has done this, we want to feel it in our pockets too. The cost of living, these levies that are being put on, and I remember there were zero-rated products. Yes? Like the child care products should be zero-rated, food and food products especially, the basic, our staple food is maize. And therefore, if maize products are zero-rated, at least the cost of living is alleviated. And therefore, we now start worrying about shelter and clothing. But if the food is there, then life becomes easier, and even femicide and homicide issues are reduced.
It's a good thing that also the president has pointed out some of the successes, and especially in the manufacturing, because it's one of his key pillars of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. All 17 sugar companies are fully operational, with 4 more under construction. I would like you to touch on how this is more or less a boost to the economy, and especially in those regions.
We appreciate the fact that the sugar industry is being revived. And back in the 90s, the Mumias sugar was really a force to reckon with. So the fact that the sugar industry is being revived, of course, that's a good thing for the economy, because then we have the job creation, and it usually is a ripple effect, because then there'll be jobs in the sugar sector, and then the people who work there are able to empower their families, and then it becomes a really good ecosystem. However, we still think the revival of the sugar industry is one step. However, we know that the manufacturing of sugar is not enough for manufacturing purposes, in terms of supporting your chemical industries and all others. So at the end of the day, I still know that sugar is going to be imported, because the demand is still quite high. Although this is honestly a step to the right direction. Yeah.
And Melly, still on the economy, a project that started out as controversial and even went to court, that is affordable housing. He has said in 2 years, over 4,000 units are completed ready for occupancy in the next, I think, should be in the next couple of days.
Yeah, he said actually 4,888 units are ready. And this is good news. We would want to see the new occupants. Actually, this will give confidence to the new house savers, the ones who would want to own, the new owners that are still saving in the Boma Yangu platform. Once we see this being rolled out and people receiving their houses, I am sure there will be more confidence in the government. There will be more confidence in what the Kenya Kwanza administration plans to achieve. And he even further to say that this is a step towards urbanization. For a government to reach out to every individual, or every citizen, they must be within reach. And this affordable housing is what has happened in developed nations. As I was giving you an example of Turkey, you find abandoned homes in the rural area setup. Why? Because the families have been moved to an urban area where the government services will be easily available. Within the same setting, there is a dispensary, there is a chemist, there is a school, the water services. For example, if I was to do piping in my village where farmers own up to 100 acres, how much will I spend piping from one farmer to another's home?
Yeah.
It would be easier if they are all centralized in an area. Remember, at the same time, our young men have come to urban areas to look for jobs and other opportunities because of better services in the urban setting. The rural area folks are now aging people. And in the near future, there will be less people in the rural area than they are in the urban setting. And that is why it is good to have structured housing programs where the people can be reached and government services given.
All right, let's first of all cross over to Parliament, where my colleague Kamche Menza has also been keeping tabs with the President's speech. And I'm quite sure even MPs want to have a chunk of expressions and expressing themselves in regards to what the President has said. Even had a standing ovation. I think for the first, I've never seen that in Parliament. I think the Adani deal had really eaten into Kenyans' minds. And Kamche?
Like he said, the president has just concluded delivering his State of the Nation address at the Parliament buildings. So much has been talked about by the president, of course, addressing a number of issues. And of course, he was addressing the nation as well as the members of Parliament. I don't want to go into details about that because I have the members of Parliament who have been given 3 reports actually to look into them. Right about now, I'm joined by the SACU member of Parliament, Honorable Dido Raso. Karibu sana, Mheshimiwa. Take home from the president's speech this afternoon.
I think one thing which we can take home from the president's speech is courage. The president was able to tell us that the issue of universal health care, the issue of corruption, and the issue of Adani are things he sees of. And he was not afraid to actually tell the nation that these are things he's doing, and which was good. Because all the time, the executives were stumbling over each other, trying to explain that this thing called SHIV, is it working? What has happened to NHIF? The president is saying, what we had was preserved for a few. Today, we want every Kenyan to access health care, which is important. Secondly, I think more importantly, there was a lot of applause in the House because he really talked about femicide, where young men are killing women. And the president is saying this must come to an end. They are part and parcel of the family. The woman actually is the homemaker. So if you are going to kill, what are you saying? Generations will end. Thirdly, what I carried away is the issue of microeconomic stability, where the president is saying, look at the dollar. Look at food self-sufficiency, subsidized fertilizers, that Kenya is on the road to recovery. And I think it's good, and we'll debate in the House. There are other things which we must say that the president should do more in this or that area. Yeah.
Just in brief, did you expect the president to address the Adani issue the way he did this afternoon? Or it caught you by surprise because you even gave him a standing ovation, if you can call that?
Of course, we never expected, and that's why I said the president was courageous. There were many who were saying, oh, Adani is not bad, they are bringing investment into Kenya. So the projects that Adani was given, they are flagship projects in Kenya. Jomo Kenyatta Airport is the face of Kenya. If they are going to be given, and they are not that trustworthy, then it simply means we have lost part of our heritage. Kentraco, they are the ones who are doing lines from Loyangalan, from where? If we give them that, we have basically handed over power to them. So I think the president was courageous to come out and say, I think this is not good. And so the best a human being should do is to change their mind. It is only fools who don't change their mind.
Thank you so much. Well put from the honorable member for Saku. Karibu sana Mhesh. Start with your name. Then tell us about take home from the president's speech this afternoon.
Thank you. Name is Joseph Lekuton, MP for Laisamis in Marsabit County. I think this was a great speech from the president personally, and I'll concentrate on the economic growth. You know, we can talk about the Adanis, a lot of members have spoken about. But I think what Kenyans need to know and to understand is that we are growing economically. We are growing at 5.6%. Our inflation rate is 2.7%. And for any sort, and the only issue now is unemployment, which I'm sure will be tackled. But every single economic indicator shows that we are growing as a country. And that's what we want. Because without a great economy, no country will grow. So hopefully, I think the president did a good job. I think all our institutions are doing well economically. And hopefully now, without growth, we'll be able to lift the rest of Kenya up. Thank you.
Talking on the economic growth and the lifting of Kenyans up, the president spoke of the fact that bado pesa mfukoni. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I agree. You know, getting money to come by you is not as easy as people think. But I think with the indicators we're seeing, I think that will happen soon. That's my opinion. Yes.
You are assuring Kenyans as well?
Well,
From where you sit as a legislator as well?
if those numbers are true, which I think they are true, that is now an avenue for pockets, for people getting something in their pockets. That's for sure. Yes. Thank you.
You want to give an input on the Adani issue? Did you guys expect it from the president especially?
Well, I watch international news a lot, and last night I was looking at the CNN that America is indicting Adani. And let me tell you, when America investigates, they're never wrong. So I think our president was very sharp in accepting that this guy is not a good guy and that we should be able to look elsewhere for investments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa. So much has been left on the table of the members of parliament. Muhesh, from this afternoon's president's speech, what's your take home on all the issues that he's talked about?
Thank you very much. My name is Adam Skipsanai, member of parliament for Keyono. Today I'm leaving this house as a very happy young parliamentarian. The president has touched several issues that has been affecting Kenyans. From the Shiv and Shah, he has actually spoken himself on various issues, including the issue of job opportunities, the labor market. You know, as a country, we are struggling because most of our young people are unemployed. But he has demonstrated on his government's effort to export as many young people as possible. However, he has also touched some other sectors of the economy that can stimulate the economy and hence attracting investors who will eventually set base in our country and employ as many people as possible. And the highs on the cake is the Adani issue. You know, Kenyans have been complaining on this issue of Adani, that maybe this thing was done not following all procedures and so forth and so on. But he has become a statesman by directing that the tender is cancelled, so that it can bring back the confidence of many Kenyans. You know, the details of that contract was that you will not construct another airport within, not do what. So I want to say that the president really touched many areas that I'm sure many Kenyans would have really loved him to touch. The issue of gender-based violence, you know, most of our young women have been killed in a very unpleasant manner. I mean, things that are not good, abductions here and there. So the president, I think, has touched many things that most Kenyans would have really want to be touched. So we are good. And above all, there's something that he challenged National Assembly on the conflict of interest bill. Most of us are supporting that thing. Because if you are not conflicted, why do you hesitate?
But why did you seem like you are not supporting in the chamber?
No, you know, the content of that bill, in one way or the other, I mean, did not resonate well with most members of parliament. Because you are told, if you are the one who violates that thing, your relative, your cousin, I mean, so we really needed it to be streamlined. And I'm sure that once we retreat back to the House, that is one of the areas that we will focus to see. It is a very important bill. It will help the country to fight the issue of corruption. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And
Wishing you all the
KBC.
All right, thank you so much. Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Welcome. This is KBC. You are live on KBC. Maybe you could start with your name and then your take home from the president's speech this afternoon.
Maurice Kakai Bissau, Member of Parliament, Kiminini Constituency, Trans Nzoia County. I think the president's delivery speech was very good. After articulating what he has done as a government, I mean, we saw that, some have been happened, but, more needs to be done. But critical bit is the Adani issue. I think that was long overdue because it's been, a big outcry globally, even starting from Adani's home in India, where there's been issues to do with misappropriation, wastage, overcharging of electricity, an example. And for a critical facility like JKIA, yes, if we talk of public-private partnership, it makes sense. But where a situation where we sort of using even the same documentation to secure that, I think that was like, passing on a very critical infrastructure for this country. So we are on a very risky path. So I would like to say thank you very much, Mr. President, for listening to what Kenyans were talking about. So that one really, really a plus.
When the president spoke about it, actually the whole house rose up. Did it catch you guys by surprise? Did you expect that from the president?
Not by surprise per se, because the president has told us again and again that he's ready to listen to what the Kenyans say. And you've seen the environment from even the House itself, the Senate. There's been issues to do with Adani. So, I mean, yes, it came as a surprise in one way, but not too much of a surprise, because the president has been listening and he's said again and again that he'll continue listening to Kenyans from all levels on the changes that needs to be made. But, well, we should tell him we are happy with that particular decision of ensuring that the Adani deal is cancelled. And going forward, whatever deal we get into, we should look for value for money. We should look at the sovereignty and protection of our country so that these deals should be above board. And in any case, it should be deals that should not bring more burden to Kenyans, but try to ease the burden.
He also spoke about corruption. Do you feel like the right measures are being put in place, or there's still much to be done?
There's still more to be done on matters corruption. The bodies that are charged to work on corruption, they need to do that. Yes, there's a bill he talked about. That bill, I know it was passed in Parliament. There are a few articles that needs to be looked at. An example, when you are a parliamentarian, they say maybe a brother or a sister should not trade. Those are two independent bodies, including even children of state officers. Some of them are adults, they live on their own. So it's like curtailing some of the Kenyans who should not do what they're supposed to do. There's freedom of choice. If you have a brother or a sister who wants to do business, with those articles, because most important is let's have articles and tools to try and, meet our objectives as a country in terms of law. But again, when we put this in place, we should ensure that they are not going to sort of obstruct other Kenyans, because nobody chooses to be a relative of a leader or state officer. So we need to remove those type of articles. But by and large, we support the president in his fight for corruption. We have to ensure that this is a corruption-free republic. Thank you very much.
Well, some of the sentiments from the members of Parliament who are inside the chambers listening to the president. How are you? You are live on KBC, your name and your take home from the president's speech this afternoon.
My name is Japheth Nyakundi, Member of Parliament for Kitutu Chacha North, and I also serve as the National Treasurer of the ruling party, the UDA party. I think this is one of the best presidential address ever since the president was sworn in. Number one, the president has told us of his achievements for the last 2 years in terms of food prices, in terms of the economy. The economy has really improved. Number two, he has told us in terms of issues to do with the dollar has reduced from 167 to about 129 shillings currently. So what we are seeing is progressive development in our country. Number two, he has also addressed the issue of Shah, Shif and the Taifa care now in totality, which is a good name for this whole thing. For sure, as he has said, it has had its own teething problems, but if it is implemented in the right way and manner, which I think has already started, I think it will be good for Kenyans because if you go to any level 1, level 2, level 3 hospital, you're going to get medication for free. You know, universal healthcare has been a thorn in the issue from the Kibaki era, from the Uhuru era, and now William Ruto as president. And he has assured Kenyans that the SHA and SHIP will definitely work, which I believe is a good thing for Kenya. On the Adani issue, which was a turning point for Kenyans, this clearly shows that the president is a listening president. He listened during the Gen Z, and he listened the finance bill to the young people, and we let it down. And this time round, for sure, this was a surprise to many Kenyans. To be specific, as a member of parliament, this was a big surprise to us. Yeah, we all stood up because we could not believe. And this clearly shows that even on his side, it was a thorn in the flesh, and which he has decided to let go. For sure, JKIA needs an expansion because it is one of the biggest airports in Africa, and it needs to be expanded. But if some of the things that were not working can't, and Kenyans don't believe in it, we should put it aside and look for better people and better PPPs that you can be able to work on. As
what he said, we look for the other.
Yeah, we look for other PPPs to work on. Clearly, this shows that he is a listening president. He has told us a lot on terms of inflation. For the first time since 2008, our inflation has moved down from 9% to about 2.7%, which is a very good thing to Kenyans. And he has really told Kenyans that he has really gave Kenyans hope that we are going to move forward together as a country in terms of security, in terms of healthcare, in terms of food commodities and the rest. So we appreciate so much.
Asante sana. I'm joined by Senator Mundigi. Senator, habari ya leo?
Asante sana.
Hotuba ya rais mchana huu wa leo, unaweza sema ni gani ambayo Mkenya anaweza kufurahia?
Mimi ni Senator wa Embu County na sisi niko upande ya senators na senator ni hapa house. Tumefurahia sana kwa sababu ile kitu rais wetu wa Kenya amefanya kitu akinjawahi kuonekana kwa hii kipindi ya miaka mitano. Asua ameongea mambo kuhusu agriculture kwa sababu unajua agriculture ndio kila kitu katika Kenya, na pia ameongea upande wa afya, na pia akaongea upande wa elimu, na pia akaongea upande wa procurement na upande wa security. Na upande wa security najua asubuhi akina mama wote ambaye ni wabunge walikutana hao na wakaongea hiyo maneno, na tumefurahia kwa sababu ameongea kitu ambaye alisema atatimiza. Lakini kwa hiyo mambo yote ile kitu amefurahisha parliament na senate mpaka tukaamuka sisi na tukasema 10 years kwa yeye na deputy wake ambaye Abraham Kidike Kithure, ni kuwa watu wengi wamekuwa wakililia juu ya JKIA, mambo ya mtu ambaye alipatiwa kazi anaitwa Andan, na pia akaongea mambo ya Kentrako. Watu wamefurahia sana na tumemshukuru kwa sababu hakuna mtu alikuwa na expect kama anaweza vunjile hiyo maneno, na amesema hawa mambo yote hiyo procurement yote iputuliwe mbali, kwa sababu unakumbuka this week kumekuwa na msukasuko ati hiyo Andan ambaye ako Amerika na ako na kesi kubwa sana, na watu wamekuwa akituma messages. Kama mimi nakumbuka kama kuna mtu mmoja Reverend Bogo amekuwa akinitumia ambaye mambo ya hiyo, na najua inaonekana hata makanisa yote ni kama juzi wakati walikaa chini mabishop ni kama hiyo ilikuwa agenda yao, na ni kama ameonekana vile alisema Embu na akasema ni kama amesalimiwa na mabishop na watu wa kanisa, ni kama ni kwa sababu Biblia inasema watu wawili hatuwezi kutembea kama hatujakubaliana. Asante kwa bishop wote na makanisa na watu wote, na pia na rais wetu kwa sababu amesema amevunjilia mbali. Kitu ya mwisho ni vile amesema procurement yote hii citizen itaanza kufanya kazi. Asante sana.
Asante sana Senator Mundigi. I'm also joined by Senator Okenyuri. Karibu sana Senator. Maybe your take home from President's speech this afternoon.
Thank you very much. From the President's address this afternoon, I can generally say democracy wins. The beauty of listening to the people, what the people suggest. Yeah, the democracy wins. The speech was balanced, touching on different sectors. So democracy ya siku zote tunawapa.
Naona pia mmefurahia alipozungumza masuala ya the femicide and the issues on the killings and abductions as women.
That's true. Just last week I raised a statement in the Senate wanting to get a status update of where we are by that. So I think in his address My statement is partially answered, and I think I'm happy. But now the take home is that we as a society need to take up this as a responsibility on how we raise our children, both girls and boys, so that they appreciate their spaces in society, because none can exist without the other. You know, they are part of our existence. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Senator. I'm also joined by Marakwet West MP, Timothy Kipchumba. How are you, sir? Karibu sana, we are fine. Take home from the president's speech this afternoon.
Now, that was a good speech. Out of 10, I give him 8 because it touched on so many things. The issue of SHA, the issue of CBC, university funding model, and so many other positives. Now, but for me, the highlight of the day was on the cancellation of the Adani deal. I think that was one of the most important things or statements that he made today at the floor of the House. Because this is an issue that has been of concern to so many people because there was no transparency in how the same was tendered and the same awarded to the said Adani. Now, the issue is this. We feel that those who are responsible for the entire process leading to the award of the tender to Adani must take responsibility. There must be accountability in whatever happened. Because one, a deal, such a huge contract, cannot just be cancelled without consequences. There will be consequences for the termination of that contract. We must pay some money because it will not just be cancelled in a casual manner, the way the president said. There will be consequences. And therefore, those who are involved in the irregularities must bite the bullet. EACC must take over this matter, investigate the process, leading to the award of a tender to someone who had integrity issues. You said yesterday America raised fundamental issues and actually they issued a warrant of arrest.
Did we have to wait until it comes from the Americans?
Absolutely, that's the question. Did we have to wait until America raised the red flag? There was a problem from the beginning, and those who were involved in the procurement process must take the ultimate responsibility because we will lose money, we will have delayed the process, our JKI is in a mess. If it was a PPP contract, then the due process should have been followed and the right person awarded so that we don't embarrass the president the way we did, the way we see today. Yeah.
Perhaps it's something that maybe needs to be looked into deeply because I remember in the committees, the CS early on had indicated that there was no any agreement that had been entered into per se.
Actually, the reason why I'm saying this is a monument of national embarrassment is because none other than Raila Odinga, the leader of opposition, who is now in government, actually affirmed and actually approved this particular deal. Today in the morning, the CS for Energy, Opiyo Wandayi, was in the Committee of Parliament saying that this deal is okay, we shall see it through. Now what has happened? It is a slap on their face, it's an embarrassment, and those who are involved must take responsibility.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Muhesh. Okay, hi, how are you? You are live on KBC. Yes. You were present in the chambers for the president's address this afternoon. What's your take home?
My take home one, the president acknowledges that policy systems should work. I agree, they should work, which means they are not very much working, and that's why we are where we are. My encouragement, everybody in each sector should take up that statement seriously and ensure that their policy sector systems are working. Number two, I want to say that democracy, as is stated, this country should ensure democracy. I'm looking forward to see that truly systems are used to bring the culprits, those who are murdered, those who are lost, and everything that he has pronounced in this parliament today, they are brought to book so that we don't have people whose families are still suffering to date. On transparency, we are seeing he has cited different information on what has been done in terms of our shilling is now stable, our levels of farmers are now being given fertilizers, the Kenya wildlife are sustaining themselves without exchequer. But I want to say that doesn't give us an excuse. The National Treasury must ensure that exchequer is disbursed to the counties at the right time, because this entails salaries, this entails procurement, contractors, services delivery, and so we want everything to be efficient. On healthcare, which he has mentioned, it is going to face it head on. I would want to encourage that, but encourage the president also to face it head on in terms of infrastructure, not just systems, because an hospital without the systems and the infrastructure that is required. There are some hospitals across the country that you find that patients are even sleeping on the floor. So even if you introduce SHIF and SHAF and you have the oversight authority, these are things we want to rectify instantly. I think what he was saying has a lot of sense, that each and every individual, a leader, has a responsibility to ensure implementation. So the gap is implementation, the gap is practical measurement, whether these funds are disbursed at the right time, funds collected under revenue, are they prudently utilized? A comment on Adani. Research is a continuous process, and some people may have a diverse opinion whether the cancellation is right, the cancellation is wrong. I want to say that Kenyans also had a divergent opinion regarding Adani. And so, if other developed jurisdictions have decided that Adani is a corrupt entity, that is through research, that is through evidence. Let Adani go, let us move on with our lives. In fact, Kenya should be an independent country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Karibu Mwesh, you are live on KBC and you are present in the chambers as the president was addressing the country as well in the State of the Nation address. Maybe what's your take home from his address?
Principally, the president today has come up strongly to speak to Kenyans after listening to Kenyans. I think that's what I can say, because every message the president made today through the speech is a message that rekindles well with what Kenyans have been calling on. Starting from the critical issue of social health care, which is a very fundamental decision and responsibility of a government of today. Remember, Kenyans gave themselves a constitution in 2010. And under Article 43, under the chapter on Bill of Rights, it enumerates several rights that are entitled to Kenyans. And most of them should be entitled equitably, equally across the board, regardless of their situation, in terms of their earnings, in terms of the level of income, in terms of their ability. Every Kenyan that is considered a Kenyan is entitled to affordable health care. But then the question has been there for all regimes. After 2010, the two regimes that have gone, none of them ever made an attempt to the level that this administration has done. Despite that the president has owned there are many challenges in this transition, he has ceded to it, he has accepted, he has admitted. That one tells you that since he is aware and he has accepted, then it tells us that the system in place and the people within the system are now putting in place mechanisms to respond. You know, feedback is a good mechanism. Negative feedback is the best mechanism, so that at every feedback that is coming from implementation challenge Kenyans are going through is being addressed, it informs on the correction to be done. And I want to tell Kenyans, let's be patient and give time the president. Imagine this is only second year in this power, second and a half year. But a lot of things has happened. Look at the sugar industry. For the first time, Kenya is no longer importing sugar. I mean, something that had already died. It killed industry. It killed employment. I can tell you, sugar belt areas, farmers are very happy. They are good in their employment. People around there. And for the first time, we are consuming our own product. And we are now taking over the import substitutes, which had already consumed our power. Issues to do with affordable housing, again, which is also an element in Bill of Rights. The president has given an hope. But the bombshell, which we never expected.
It just had to be a bombshell.
I mean, we never expected this one. The president himself, who has been perceived for quite some time to be harboring something, an hidden agenda on the issue of Adani, PPP about JKIA, PPP about healthy sector, energy sector, all this. And today he has come forth and said, as a president of the Republic of Kenya, he has given executive orders that process be then terminated. But then now, in his speech again, if you are careful, he mentioned that agencies that are bestowed with its responsibility of checking anti-corruption issues to do with corrupt and fighting any investigative issues, they should do their work. They should do their work. He repeatedly said they should do their work. And anybody with an objective of apportioning responsibility where it is. Now, to me, it begs a question. If the president has said today that there's a problem in Adani procurement, then it means there are people who have participated. And if it's a question of apportioning responsibility comes in, it should start from here. And I don't expect the agencies concerned to go and sleep in their job. Because already a process, time has been used, resources has been used. In terms of discussion, Kenyan feelings has been added. We need to support the president by ensuring anybody, even those who are appointed by the president, they should take the responsibility on this one.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
Well
much.
said, well said. And you are the ones who should be actually...
We are doing our work. as agencies. Thank you.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
You're live on KBC.
Yes.
President's speech this afternoon was just over an hour, just a bit over an hour.
Yes.
Unlike the normal speeches that we are used to, maybe 2 hours. How do you feel about the speech this afternoon?
I think the speech of the president demonstrates two things. One is what I call successes, and the second part is work in progress. So what I call successes, which I said earlier, that when the president was taking over, and I think Kenyans need to understand, when the president was taking over 2 years ago, when you look at the cost of fuel, for our cars, it was really way unaffordable, and it was actually increasing. But when we talk about it now, it's stable. The prices of fuel is stable. Go to food, go to unga. There was a lot of problem in unga when the president was taking 2 years ago, and everybody was saying, the cost of, and it was actually going to about 300 shillings per 2 kilos. When he's talking today, if you look at it, it's about 100 and something. When you look at Kenya shilling, Kenya shillings. So that was really very bad. Now when the president is coming to talk today this afternoon, where do we have dollar? Between 120 shillings per dollar to 130 shillings per dollar. And that is way I call successes, because it has a lot of influence, particularly the exchange rate. Remember that particular time, and particularly February last year, because our exchange rate was so bad at about 160, we were losing about 200 billion shillings in exchange rate when we were paying our loans as a country. So money that was going to just cost exchange rate was about 200 billion. And that was really a big loss. So when the president was coming today, this afternoon, he was coming with that successes. And it is true, we agree, some of us, and particularly me being chairman of the Oversight Committee, that there are some recorded successes in that area. Can we say there are areas of improvement or what I call work in progress? Yes. Particularly the president needs to sit down very, very well and very quickly on this issue of universities. Our universities are dying, and he acknowledged that one. And he said that it's work in progress. Some other people might use a different language, but I'll call it work in progress. Our education system, particularly universities, is dying. Universities are dying. Public universities are dying in terms of management, in terms of resources. The president said that is his work in progress. Do we have a hope of success? Yes. When you look at also funding model, our children are complaining and they're crying. Yes, a new model, we can say let's give it time, maybe we will see some fruits. But what is coming out very clearly, that the president cannot lie, or cannot sit down, that he must address is this band. There are about 5 bands, right? Band 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The students are saying, and the people of Kenya are saying, please let's remove band 4 and 5. I know there is a task force which the president constituted, and that's why I'm calling work in progress. And where I sit myself, I will say that is where the president needs to sit, so that our children can be able to get, or this issue of universities can get smoother. People can go to universities, and particularly I'm crying, and I'm really part up by my own university, my former university, Moi University. Moi University, I'm proud of the Moi University. As polished as I am, and as good as I am, I'm proud of Moi University. Moi University is one of the best universities in this country, but it's dying. And I want to plead with our people, even for our people in the North Rift, that let us not rely on tribalism, right? Maybe one of the things that might have killed our university is people are crying, say, oh, you know what, we want our person to lead or something like that. Now you have seen, even if you have your own person leading, it's not a panacea. It's not success. We have a problem. We need a good manager in Moi University so that we have governance back. We have the Moi University going in, and that is why the president and we call as parliamentarians work in progress. Another area, chief, shaft, whatever. This is a local language. Transition from NHIF to this new model. What I will say myself is that I'm very hopeful myself. The president, yes, he said I'm a work in progress, which I agree. I'm also hopeful myself that it's a matter of time. Maybe, in my view, what is this? This is about what? Technical problems. So maybe give it a week or two, a month or two. Personally, I'm very certain this chief and shaft will work eventually. That will work, yes.
On the Adani, this got to by surprise.
Of course, that was work in progress in the president. I am not surprised. It came to my committee, remember? It was a matter of time. You remember it came to my committee, and Kenyans will know that this is a matter which was also before my committee. And I had ordered for special audit. And I said, it's not going to work like that. That was something that was going to collapse. But what I will insist as a Kenyan and a leader, right? That area of expansion of Kenya, of our Jomo Kenyatta Airport is still something that we need to look at. We need to expand our airport. If we don't expand our airport, actually, Bola International Airport will take over, and also Rwanda. So, but we need to do the right way, not the Adani way. Right, not the Adani way, because Kenyans were suspecting that Adani might have been sneaked in, and that's why it brought a problem. But I'll tell you so, it's a good thing the president has given a break, but he has also said, please, because we still need development in the area of Jomo Kenyatta and also in the area of electricity, that let us look at a different model. I am suggesting, and I want to plead with the people who are listening to us, and particularly the agencies which are working on, open the debate. Open the debate now, engage Parliament in advance, engage us, so that we can look at models of engaging private investors, so that we can advise them, so that when they are moving forward, that they don't move forward 100 steps ahead, and then they are brought down to collapse. Money has been spent. Because some areas that we from an oversight point of view, I'm saying how is it going to be handled, is that Adani had signed a contract with Ketraco. So what happens? Is that going just to be assumed that nothing happened? So what is the meaning of that signing of the contract, engaging government and Adani? Will that lead to penalties? What is it going to lead to? That is an area of interrogation that I think, going forward, we have to look at and say, will Adani say, but I signed an agreement with you, so you need to pay me this, you need to pay me that? Are we going to again enter into a loss? That is an area upon which we are going to look at. But more important, the agencies now should open up. Let them come and we will agree with them. We have proposals of models. Let them open so that they don't get into problems that we have gotten into.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So those are some of the sentiments coming from the members of Parliament. Here I'm joined by same member of Parliament, Karibu Sana. From the President's speech, it was just slightly above 1 hour. Mm-hmm. What do you think about it?
Well, to begin with, he touched on all areas that are important and which are actually a problem in the country. He touched on health, he touched on education, he touched on security, he touched on the cost of living. So all those are areas that are of concern. On health, I was happy with this concern, but he introduced a new term known as Taifa Care. Now we're going to find out what exactly does this Taifa Care mean and how does it relate to SHA and so on. But the other area I would have expected more is when he removed Adani contracts from power and from the airport. We're also expecting that he would also say something Adani in SHA, because there's Adani in SHA, there's a cost of 104 billion, which as a committee we have not been happy with. We are not convinced it is the correct. So, but we will find more that from the community, from the committee. Committee where we are working. The other thing that he did indicate that from the data available, there is improvement in the economy. But what really matters is those are very good. If you're having those improvements, I think that's okay. But the question people ask, am I feeling it in my house? So
but he did address that. He did say something about money.
Yeah. So, well, he said it, that there may be money in the pocket, but that one he can't say because I should feel money in my pocket. So we are looking at, true, there may be a lag period between the economic improvement and the feeling of it. So for us, what we are waiting, okay, are we going to start to feel it? There may be some indications here and there. So I think he covered everything. I think he was focused. But another thing is that he did give timelines. So that is going to give us an opportunity to now call back and say, okay, this was to be done. The 3-point-something billion for the health providers was to be paid within a week. So within 1 week, we are going to check that one out. So yes, that's within our committee. So in general, the areas he touched were important, but as I have said, people are going to have to feel it. But I think it's an optimistic thing. Yeah. But for health, I want to hear about Adani in SHA.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, member for Oseme. And I'm joined by Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei. Hi, you're live on KBC.
Thank you.
You were in the National Assembly chambers this afternoon following up
Yes.
on the president's speech.
Yes.
What's your take home this afternoon from that?
One, I would call this one of those redemption speeches. And when he closed by saying that our state of the nation is resilient, it is a message telling Kenyans that we are resilient. Now, of all the things that the president said today, I must thank him for one very important thing: the fight against. That is the bottom line of everything that he said today, and inviting all government agencies, those fighting corruption, those who involved in the judicial system or the justice system, the National Assembly and the Senate in legislation, and the rest of the government agencies in bids to fight corruption. That was the take home for me, and I must appreciate it. And I want to call upon the rest of those institutions to join hands with the president in fighting corruption. Secondly, and more importantly, the president also ran the country through the processes of the commitments that his government has made for the last 2 years. And the success stories been told about the number of teachers who've been employed, those who are currently in the process of being graduated, 20,000 plus the earlier 56,000. This fertilizer subsidy program that has really improved on our farmers' livelihoods. The reforms in the agriculture sector, tea, coffee, the pricing, and among other things, the challenge which he acknowledged with regards to the reforms in the health sector. A health nation is a wealthy nation. And the bold step that he said he's taking in making sure that he reforms the health sector, notwithstanding the fact that it is a default function, is also a rallying call to ensuring that he brings together the challenges that could be affecting both the county and the national level to deal with this issue. One of the things which I picked, which also I must say, and this is one of the messages we've been trying to tell the Kenyan, is that it is not a walk in the park to transform from the NHIF to the SHIF and SHA. But acknowledging that it's one of those things that the presidency is pushing and taking a bold position to support is to bring all Kenyans to support this process. And one last thing, which I almost forgot, which every Kenyan is happy about, is the Adani deal. The cancellation or the directive to the cancellation of JKIA and the Ketraco Adani engagement is also what most of the Kenyans have been talking about. That is part of fighting this animal called corruption, because the dealings into it have all been taken to court. I am aware that we have cases in court for the JKIA and the Ketraco one, and the courts have given some orders as against the progress. And today's directive by the president is welcomed. I do not really say it's long overdue, especially because of what we have lately been watching in the news. And today in the morning, the indictment of the Adani brothers by the international community and the courts, I mean, that was really one of those things that the president has had. And he told Kenyans that I am a listening president, I listen to you, let us talk. Coming back to the aspect on the rights of Kenyans to demonstrate, to picket, the abductions, the killings, the president speaking to it is very telling of the intentions of this government. We would like to appreciate the fact that we are entitled as Kenyans. So as Kenyans, therefore, serving under the democratic state with a constitution that is so progressive, the right of one to demonstrate ends at the point, the right of one to be protected and the property to be protected. And the president spoke by saying that we should try as much as possible to distinguish between the freedoms that we want to enjoy and celebrate, and also the borderline between the entitlements of others, which could be infringed in the course of our exercise of the freedom to celebrate. All in all, as I've said, today's presidential State of the Nation address, in my view, was a redemption speech, and I look forward to Kenyans supporting the president. I know we will have 3 days running from next week to discuss about it. We will debate about it. We will do the pros and cons. We will critique. We will support. And since we are Kenyans, this is Kenya. There is no other Kenya. We need to be resilient to support the programs of the government of the day as we enjoy the freedoms that we have out of the independence. Thank you very much. Thank you so
well
much.
Said.
Thank you so much.
Well said, Senator. Thank you so much. Karibu sana. Karibu sana. Maybe you could start with your name, then the president's speech. It was a bit short. We could say just 1 hour, slightly above 1 hour.
Yes.
But what do you think? Did it really capture the issues that Kenyans wanted to hear?
My name is Mawathe Musili Mawathe, MP Embaka South constituency. Actually, there is the pressure was really mounted until to the point of cancelling the Adani deal. The Adani deal has been bad from the word go. So we are so glad that the Adani deal has been cancelled, because just the other day, don't forget, the other day, Adani just turned off lights in electricity, in power, in one of the countries. And somewhere in Asia, one of the Asian countries, he turned off the lights for 48 hours because he had not been paid by the government. So this was a very bad deal for us. So the entire country did not have any power. The other thing is also, he's only cancelled the Ketraco and JKIA, but still within the what is it called? There is still 104 billion shillings that is supposed to be supplied by the Adani company. That one also needs to go, because wananchi are suffering because of the poor, actually the bad software that is being supplied. That tender needs to be cancelled, and people need to go back. The country needs to go back to NHIF. The only problem with NHIF is that it was not paying the hospitals on time, and you're not paying some of the ills. We could have improved the services, on the payment part, and also the services are covered. So we've gone there and raided the other point is raiding the taxes on wananchi. We've raided the pay slip of the normal wananchi. The normal wananchi, the tax or burden has been loaded on his shoulder. There is need to reduce the load on the common wananchi. What common wananchi was expecting is that they will get to hear the president saying we will cut taxes up to this amount. But that one, we failed. On that part, we failed as leaders. We're really hurting the common wananchi. Let's reduce our expenditures. Let's reduce our expenses so that we can reduce the taxes that we really are collecting from common wananchi. Asanteni sana, and God bless you.
Thank you so much. So all those are different opinions and sentiments, of course, from the members of parliament who from next week, Monday, they will be sitting to debate or look through that particular speech by the president this afternoon. Call it redemption, call it time, just give it any name, that speech, because very different members have given it different names. Some saying it is a redemption, but some saying that it has not spoken into the issues that Mwananchi expected, especially matters of taxes. Well, there was the Adani issue that the president was applauded for having cancelled it, but of course there are issues of taxes where Wananchi have been crying about. There's been a hue and cry about the taxes, and members say that it has not been addressed, although there are other issues that have been addressed. So those are some of the sentiments that members have been able to pick up from the president's speech, and of course from next week they'll be beginning that particular debate on how they will be looking into those issues that the president has raised this afternoon. So that's it from this place, that is the parliament. It has been the president's speech, this afternoon State of the Nation address, and allow me to hand it over back to you in studio, Troy.